Hey y'all! Pokemon Crystal using only one Corsola was surprisingly powerful, so let's continue this week with a Pokemon that's also known for being pretty good. This week, I'm going to try to beat Pokemon Crystal using only one Skarmory. As usual, the rules are I can only use Skarmory in battle, and I can't use any trainer items in battle. By the way, if you like this kind of content and want to see more, be sure to subscribe and check out more of these videos on my channel. Skarmory is known for being one of the best Pokemon in the history of competitive single battles, and it's also known for being a bit of a jerk in the Mystery Dungeon series. It's got good typing, one of the highest defense stats of any Pokemon to this day, and access to entry hazards like spikes. The latter isn't going to help us today, but that whopping defense stat sure looks nice! The stats overall are pretty fantastic, but the major problem with Skarmory is that its move pool is kinda bad in this game. Anytime Fly is your best option for same type attack coverage, you know you're gonna have a bad time. It's a shame too, because Skarmory can get access to Drill Peck through breeding, but this is a solo Pokemon challenge run, so unfortunately, that's off limits. Alright, let's do this. Off at Professor Elm's lab, I used the Universal Pokemon Randomizer to replace Chikorita with Skarmory so that our rival will pick the Fire-type Cyndaquil. Skarmory is a Steel type, which means it's weak to Fire, making Typhlosion the hardest final form starter for us to deal with. I just love making things harder for me than they actually need to be. Skarmory is a territorial, steel-winged bird of prey known for its ferocious cry, so I nickname ours Metallica! Skarmory starts off with Peck and Leer. Peck is a weak move, but base 80 attack is pretty good for this early in the game, so we're easily able to defeat Bubs' Cyndaquil. That of course will change as soon as it gets a fire move, but in the meantime, Skarmory easily staves off any Pokemon that only has physical attacks, which is pretty much the entire early portion of this game. After easily beating Bubs, I head straight to the Violet City Gym to take on the Flying-type gym leader Faulkner. This is one of the lowest levels I've ever beaten him with, and you can easily see why. Skarmory shrugs off his attacks like I shrug off mean YouTube comments, and thanks to our flying typing, we're immune to Mud Slap. I don't even feel bad about this being an unfair fight. We're here to win, and after all, nothing else matters. After defeating Faulkner, I head to Azalea Town to take on Bugsy the Bug-type gym leader. Since this is a battle of the bugs, Peck makes pretty quick work of his entire team. Even the mighty Scyther can't chink our armor with Fury Cutter. I'm just enjoying this early part of the game where nothing can touch us because I already know just how much harder this is actually going to get. Speaking of tough times ahead, after beating Bugsy, it's time to take on the rival Bubs once more. I had to reset this battle a ton because Ghastly's Lick often paralyzes our poultry, and then there's the sheer damage output of Quilava's Ember to deal with. On many occasions, our Steel Chicken ends up being blackened thanks to Ember, but with Mud Slap we're able to narrowly cheese out a win. And listen, I know, it's not elegant, but it's a living. Okay, on to the next one. Here we are in Goldenrod City to take on Whitney's stupid Miltank in one of the stupidest battles I've had to do in this stupid run thus far. Whitney's Clefairy loves to call fun moves with metronome, like, I don't know, Thunderbolt and Fire Blast, and then Miltank's rollout is still a huge problem because, by the way, we're neutral to rock. Plus, every time I get close to knocking out her bovine behemoth, she just heals it back up with Milk Drink. Well, if that's the case, let's fight fire with fire and lower her accuracy with Mud Slap. Otherwise, I have no idea how we're supposed to win this one when she can just repeatedly heal off our damage. We're only able to finish her off once she runs out of Milk Drink Beepy, so she was really milking it for all it was worth. It's a good thing this isn't happening in Pokemon Red too, because trainers in that game have infinite Beepy, meaning this battle would be utterly impossible. Off at the Burnt Tower in Ecruteak City, I have to take on the rival Bubs once more, and like someone who peaked in high school, things just keep getting worse and worse for poor Skarmory. I entered the battle at level 21, but couldn't make any headway until I grinded to level 29, at which point, Mud Slap is a 2-hit KO on the Haunter and a 1-hit KO on the Magnemite. If Haunter lands a Curse, this battle is immediately over. We don't deal damage fast enough to win before Curse takes us out, and that's assuming Quilava isn't hitting us with its massive embers. It takes many resets before we get decent enough luck to make it past Bubs, and I'm starting to feel pretty pigeonholed. Next up is the Ecruteak City Gym Leader Morty, and this battle is just as annoying as the one before with Bubs. We got the same problem with Curse, except this time there's also a Gengar spamming Hypnosis to contend with at the same time. Thankfully, we can lower its accuracy to dodge Hypnosis, but this whole thing still takes dozens of resets before we're able to win. And listen, I don't like having to rely on Mud Slap either, but sometimes it's the only option. I don't want to just overlevel and then make the rest of the challenge trivial. Also, and I'm not sure if you've considered this before, but grinding is boring. Now that we have Morty's badge, we can finally use Surf outside of battle, and I am determined to defeat the Cianwood City Gym Leader Chuck, and not just because we need the badge anyways, but because afterwards we can get the HM for Fly. You can see from the footage just how much we're doing with Peck, and Fly is twice as strong. Or maybe I should say how little we're doing with Peck, and therefore the reason I desperately want to have Fly as soon as possible. Just imagine how much smoother some of these battles would go if we just had a halfway decent move, for crying out loud. Oh, I always say it, base stats are nothing if you got a bad move pool. It's sad but true. And you can immediately see the difference this one move makes as soon as we take on Price, the Ice-type gym leader in Mahogany Town. It's a little bit annoying that our best move requires 2 turns to actually do damage, but there are ways to take advantage of that fact much later in the game. Worst case scenario, we can always delete the move Fly at the move deleter's house in Blackthorn City, and then replace it with something else in the future. I don't know what I'd replace it with though, since Skarmory's move pool in this game is about as flavorful as boiled chicken. And to the one person out there saying, "Oh, I like boiled chicken," you're lying. Put down the dumbbells and admit that you're lying. With Price out of the way, there's nowhere else to go but to take on Jasmine, the Steel-type gym leader at the Olivine City Gym. And this battle was awful. Her 2 Magnemites can both do massive damage with Thunderbolt. Thank goodness for Mud Slap's accuracy drop, because Skarmory does not want to ride the lightning. Assuming that we do get past our first 2 Pokemon, which we Magnemite not, there's still a whole dang Steelix after that. Our strongest move is Mud Slap, but even so, just look at how little damage we're doing. She can't do a ton of damage to us either, but come on, man. I've got things to do. The good news is that Fly's 2-turn nature actually becomes a bit of a benefit here. Steelix's 2 attacking moves, Iron Tail and Rock Throw, each only have 15 PP, and both are already pretty inaccurate. Fly taking 2 turns lets us deplete her PP twice as fast, meaning there's a chance she won't be able to touch us at all. This battle is the equivalent of watching metal until it rusts, and I'm happy to be done with it. In the Team Rocket Radio Tower anime arc, we take on the rival Bubs in the basement underground. Now that we have Fly, it can do decent damage. Our higher level means that not even his Quilava poses too much of a threat. I do wonder how we would fare if our levels were on par, but unfortunately, there's not much we can do to avoid gaining experience. This game goes out of its way to throw experience directly in your face, including not 1, but 3 mandatory rocket sections of the game. I know a lot of people complain about the level curve in this game, but that only really applies when you're using a full team of Pokemon. Now it's time for the final Johto gym leader, Claire the Dragon Master. Well, trainer really, I guess Lance is the master. Anyways, this battle was kinda silly. I kept losing to her annoying Thunder Wave spam, plus one of her Dragonairs knows Thunderbolt, and that does a lot of damage. So I grabbed a few extra levels and equipped the Sharp Beak to boost our Fly by 10%, which is just enough damage to 1-hit KO the Dragonairs and avoid Thunder Wave. And that took an awful lot of time, but to my surprise, the first try after grinding, I critical hit all 3 Flies against the Dragonairs. Meaning that entire series of events that I just described was a complete waste of time, thank you! Before the Elite Four, we traverse Victory Road to take on our rival Bubs one last time. This last battle was, well, pretty disappointing. It's not that Bubs did anything particularly wrong, he's just gotten kinda stale. His earlier work was a lot more inspired, and it almost seems as if things have just gone on so long that there's not much left for him to really do. Sorry, kinda went off on a tangent there for a second. I was just busy thinking about Metallica was all. Here are the stats and moves at the Elite Four. Skarmory is at level 51, and while the moveset leaves much to be desired, the stats are all really good. Hey, at least we have Steel Wing now. That's nothing to shake a stick at. Up first is the Elite Four Will. One of the great things about Skarmory is the number of types that it resists. One of those is Psychic, which helps us take attacks despite Will having some pretty strong Pokemon. Honestly, his most difficult Pokemon for Skarmory is the Slowbro. It resists Steel Wing because it's Water type, meaning that we have to rely on the 2-turn Fly. This gives him chances to raise Slowbro's defense with Curse, so we end up taking a couple of Psychics for our troubles. But we finish out the battle with just a handful of HP. The Elite Four's Will might be Psychic, but ours is made from Iron. Next up is Koga, the Poison and Bug type Elite Four member. Steel is immune to poison, and we double resist Bug, so this battle was very easy. Fly is able to one-hit KO both of his bugs, and his Muck doesn't actually have any moves that can damage us. We even have Swift to bypass evasion for when Koga starts to get really desperate. The hardest part about this battle really is how long it takes. Fortress resists Steel Wing and Swift, and we can't hit it with a neutral Fly because he goes for Protect the turn that Fly would hit. Just two Steel types bashing into one another. Talk about heavy metal, and imagine the racket! Better be careful you don't get a noise complaint, because if your bird of prey is causing a disturbance after curfew, well, that's illegal. Illegal. My, we have sunk to an all-time low, haven't we? Next up is the Fighting type Elite Four member Bruno. And now what I'm about to say might sound crazy, but I'm going to need you to suspend your disbelief. Okay, here it goes. Bruno's pretty easy. Yeah, that shouldn't surprise anyone. The hardest Pokemon was honestly his Hitmontop, and that's just because we couldn't hit it with Fly. Just like with Fortress, it uses Detect on the turn that Fly would hit in order to block our attack. Still, goes down easy, and then Fly fells his fighting types, while Steel Wing slays his Stone Snake. Huh, that's weird. Before the battle, Bruno said, and I quote, "You will bow down to our overwhelming power." Yeah, right, buddy. Listen, if you're gonna talk the talk, you better squawk the squawk. Well, after beating Bruno, it's time for the Dark-type Elite Four member Karen, and this was unequivocally one of the weirdest battles that I've ever done for one of these challenge runs. Her Scumbreon starts off the battle with its usual sand attack shenanigans, but we get by. Then comes out the Houndoom, and I'm worried about a flamethrower, but instead it uses Roar? Huh, well that's a problem. I can't actually use any of my other Pokemon, and according to the rules, technically I'm not allowed to switch Pokemon either. So I do the only thing I can think of, which is to throw Pokeballs until my other Pokemon get knocked out, and then go back into Skarmory. And what's even weirder is that Houndoom keeps going for Roar. What are you doing, Karen? Just use Flamethrower! I think this has to be some strange quirk in the AI, because her Murkrow does the same thing by spamming Whirlwind. If anybody understands what's going on here, please put it down in the comments. I'd love to know Roar. Last up is the champion battle with Lance, the Dragon Master. Oh boy, so right away things are not looking good. Where all the other battles in the Elite Four were first try victories, this one was an Iron Curtain. The biggest problem is that our best move is Fly, and Lance's dragons can hit us with both Twister and Thunder while we're in the air. This means that we're taking twice as much damage while getting to attack half as much, and that's no bueno. So I keep challenging the Elite Four without resetting, letting myself lose to keep the experience. Even when I do manage to luck past a Dragonite or two, the Charizard seeks and destroys our Skarmory with Flamethrower. It's not until an attempt at level 69 that we're finally able to win. And no, that was not intentional, it really is just the perfect level. And this victory, by the way, entirely due to luck. Basically, my best strategy is to use Fly despite the chance for Twister and Thunder to hit us, and just pray that Lance uses Thunder Wave while we're in the air, and misses whatever attack he uses while we're on the ground. Even when that does go well, which doesn't work out often, Charizard can still burn or crit us with Flamethrower. And his last Dragonite also has Fire Blast! You know, for as easy as a lot of this run was, this more than made up for it. I spent more time beating Lance than it took to get to Lance in the first place, and that does not bode well for Red, my friends. But with Lance defeated, we have become the champion of the Pokemon League. But you know the run isn't over yet. I'm always going to consider beating the final trainer Red as the true ending, unless of course the Pokemon is just impossibly bad. With the Elite Four defeated, I hop on the SS Aqua and sail on over to Kanto to take on their 8 gym leaders to earn the right to challenge Red atop Mount Silver. And the first 7 gym leaders were not too much trouble, so now it's time to take on the final Kanto gym leader, Blue. Lance had me pretty spooked for this latter half of the game, but maybe I was wrong after all. Even Blue wasn't that big of an issue. The only real threat to Skarmory on his team is the Arcanine, which, just like Karen's Houndoom, for whatever reason, forgoes Flamethrower, instead using Roar multiple times. I don't understand what's happening. Not that I want to meddle with our luck, but winning this way does feel like a steal. Heh, I guess you can call me Zoolander, cause this battle was a blue steal. With all 16 badges in hand, I turn left inside Mount Silver until we reach the final Trainer Red for the climactic battle. The strategy for this one is actually kinda cool. His lead Pikachu likes to use Charm to lower our attack by 2 stages, which normally means we have to reset. However, this time we actually want Pikachu to use Charm. You see, the goal here is to use as many Mud Slaps as possible without knocking Pikachu out, so Charm helps Pikachu to survive. And after that, we're going to use Curse to not only recover our lowered attack stat, but to raise it even further. On the first attempt where I managed to get this to work, Charizard snags a very unfortunate burn. And if you remember anything about music sharing and copying CDs during the early 2000s, then you already know that any kind of burning really upsets Metallica. I retry this battle now at level 80, which is the maximum level Skarmory can be while still not knocking out the Pikachu with 2 Mud Slaps before it hits us with a Charm. And this looks a heck of a lot easier than it actually was. I need to get enough curses to 1-hit KO the Charizard with Fly because we can only take a single Flamethrower. So I'm forced to stall for as much time as possible, which allows leftovers to recover off all of the damage that we usually take from one of Pikachu's Thunders. Once I've sufficiently lowered Pikachu's accuracy, I can alternate between Curse and Protect so that we get twice as much leftovers recovery. That all sounds easy enough, but it took me almost an hour of real-time resets just to make this work. Once Charizard goes down though, just like the movie Shrek, it's all ogre. Every single one of his Pokemon goes down in a single hit. Except for Blastoise, because we missed 2 consecutive flies. Woo! After yet another hour of resetting, I'm back at the Blastoise, and this time we knock it out, sending it off to Never Neverlanda! And with that, the challenge is over. This episode having a Metallica theme was spot on, because using Skarmory makes me want to bang my head right into a wall. I spent so much time trying to beat Red, I think Skarmory might have started to corrode. But you know how it goes on this channel. We figured out a feasible strategy, reset the game 1,000 times until it finally worked, and the rest is history. Before we fade to black, I want to thank you for making it to the end of this video. These videos are a lot of fun, but also a lot of work, so I really do appreciate it. There's a playlist on my channel where you can find the rest of my Pokemon Challenge videos if you want to check those out as well. And if you like this kind of content and want to see more, be sure to subscribe and enable notifications so you'll know right away the next time one of these episodes is uploaded. And if you want early access to these videos and to be listed in the credits, please consider becoming a member. And let me know in the comments what other Pokemon you want to see, and I'll probably do it. Next week, I'm going to try to beat Pokemon Red using only one Tentacool. Anyways, until next time,